recording? Okay, we're recording now. Okay, good. Let me just do a little something over here. All right, so what's today?
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day. Thanks for calling in, gang. I appreciate it very much. So before I forget, so I got some notes here. I just want to, I've been seeing things online, and a lot of our real estate agents and power agents have been doing fundraising because all the crazy hurricane stuff like that. So any of you that have been involved in that, I've been seeing it on Facebook, I just want to acknowledge you for that. So good job. So let's just go through a couple of things before we get into this. We have people all over the world, and people are still calling in. So people that had to wake up at crazy hours, I appreciate that, and for being on the call. Let's see there. All right, so there's a few things. Let me go over the technical things. So, there's a lot of different ways. For those of you that are on the call for the first time, there's a lot of different ways to participate. We have the Facebook Live feed on the Power Group, which, by the way, for those of you that don't remember or don't know, we have a closed group just for the power agents on Facebook, and I post 3 times a week articles, flyers, things that I think will help you in your business. So make sure you check in on that. I think we do it on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays is when we post those things on Facebook. And it's a closed group. It's called, you should have gotten an email on it. You can always call my office about it. And it's Power Agents of Real Estate is the name of the group. Some of you just called in, so you're only listening to this. Some of you are using the webcam that the software has. And so everybody that's on the webcam, say hi if you can. Good. Nobody. All right, they're waving. Okay, very good. And some of you are doing this in front of your computer. So part of what we're going to do is every month we go through, there's 2 major things I want to do. Number 1 is to go through some of the powerful pages in the monthly magazine, but more importantly also to coach you, like answer any questions that you have. Now, hang on a second. Here's what I'm going to do. Mute all. Okay, so gang, I just muted everybody so that way we get a good recording and we don't hear any distractions. But if you want to talk to me anytime during the call, all you have to do is hit *6 on your keypad. I'm not sure how to do it if you're using your webcam and that kind of stuff, but I'm sure there's a way to do that if you look at the controls. But I want you to interrupt me. So *6 one time will take you off mute, and then I'll hear you. And there's usually a delay like 5 seconds, so just do it once and give it about 5 seconds. Because, I don't like to make this a presentation. I try to avoid to do that because this call is about you, to help you. And every 30 days, it's an opportunity for us to get together, for you to ask me questions, to get some coaching. So I want to make sure that you use this opportunity to do that. So, okay, let's see. What else we got? Let me go through the rest of the thing. If you do talk to me, it's better to not be on a speakerphone because there's a little feedback on that. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start with the questions. The one-on-one coaching for you guys. And I have a couple of emails that I got here that I want to address, and then I'm going to open up the call. So I want you to start to think right now, if you were going to ask me a question to help you in your business, this is your opportunity to do that. So think about, like, are you having any challenges with listings or prospecting, your attitude, your fear, when you're actually on the appointment, some challenges that you're having, working with buyers, how to work with them more effectively, how to manage your time, how to manage your money. So I'm just trying to give you some ideas because I want you to shout out and say, Darryl, I got a question. I prefer to have this one-on-one with you. All right. Judy Elridge, are you on the call? And if you are, darling, if you'll hit *6 and take yourself off mute so I can talk to you. And now, if she's not on the call, I'm going to read you her question. But anyway, are you on the call, Judy?
I am. Yes, I am.
Hey, good morning, darling. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thanks. How are you, Darryl?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Let me just increase the volume here. Judy, so why don't you go? Let me actually read your question because you were so great at this. And You said, I have a home that's been on the market in Westminster, Colorado since April of this year, yeah?
Yes.
And there aren't any comps in the subdivision that has the square footage. This house is custom built, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, triple car garage. It even fits an RV. It's 5,600 square feet. Bada bing, that's a big house. Built in 1997, but it backs up against this noisy street, which has been our biggest complaint. It could use a little new carpet, kitchen, marble tops, but you priced it at $730,000, and you've lowered it 3 times. The current price is $689. Now, by the way, I'm gonna mention something right now, Judy, and gang, for everybody. When you have a listing that needs a price adjustment, this, when we're on the showing side, when we see an MLS from a colleague come out and it's too high, and then we see it come down, let's just say, for example, well, you tell me, Judy, when it was at 730, what was the first price reduction?
It was, it was down to 719.
Okay, so here you got 730, and you drop it to 720, basically. That's only $10,000.
Right.
Now, all of us would know, well, that's ridiculous. You might as well have not, and by the way, I'm not yelling at you, Judy. I'm talking to everybody, right? You might as well not have even done, what's that?
I understand.
Yeah, because the perception you send out to your colleagues is like, well, these sellers are obviously really not committed to selling because that's a ridiculous price reduction. So watch what I'm about to say. Doing a small price reduction is almost more negative than keeping the price at where it was. Because the message we're sending out to our colleagues is these people are more committed to price than they are committed to moving. Now, I want to highlight something here, too, for everybody, is that when you are a listing agent, what I want you to think of when you're trying to market your listings, don't think about how to get it sold to buyers, like how to market it to buyers, but think how can you take your new listing and market it to other agents and get other agents excited about your listing. This slight attitude adjustment has a big impact on a listing. You'll start to, I'll give you for example, when you sit down and you fill out a listing agreement and you're thinking, how can I motivate my colleagues to show this listing? That's going to influence how you verify data, verify taxes, how you write the listing information together, the remarks section. See, I always looked at the remarks section of every listing as a billboard to motivate my colleagues. So I would write things that I know would speak to an agent's heart, like, oh, that sounds interesting. Now, when you think this way and you have a listing that's 730, and if you kept in mind, okay, how am I going to motivate my colleagues? Well, if I drop it to 719, is that going to motivate them? No. As a matter of fact, it may send them the wrong message. All right. So are you with me on this so far, Judy?
Yes, I am.
All right, good. So now you also said you had only 10 showings in 5 months. The sellers are resistant to lowering it much more. You see, now the problem is now that $689 is the new listing price. Like even if you dropped it to $675, again, that's just a little increment. It's not good to do increment price reductions. It's better to go from this bigger number and give it like, $30,000, $40,000, whatever is needed to move the property. All right. So you've only had 10 showings. It's been on the market for 6 months. This is the problem you've got here, Judy, is that this listing may have now become a white elephant where all the agents know this listing, they know it's not selling, and it's got like bad juju on it. And the only way it's going to really sell is if you lower the price below what it should have been listed for originally. Hang on, I'm still reading something here. Is this property backing up against something, or am I confusing my listings here? Yeah. It's got a noisy background, noisy backyard. Is that right?
Right. It backs up to a busy street.
Okay. So now, let me help you more with this listing. So I think so far we've learned a lot with what I just covered with you, but now let's see how we can get this listing sold. Where are these homeowners moving to?
Well, they're moving in two directions because they just divorced.
Ugh.
And they're staying in the same city.
Okay.
So, but different locations in the city.
Yeah. Okay. Are they still living together in the house?
No.
Okay. So when you want to get a price reduction, you got to do two conference calls separate, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's a tough one too. Now, what do you think? Do you have an idea what this house should be selling at?
Well, I think it should be selling it right around $660 or $665. We did do another price reduction from that $689 to $670. I recommended down to $685 or $665, and they wouldn't buy it. They said no, the lowest we're going to go is $670.
Okay, so now $670. Has there been any showings since then? When did you do that?
I did it about a week ago or 10 days ago, and yes, we have had 3 more showings.
Okay, well that's good.
Mhm.
All right, so it sounds like you're on the right track. So you know what? Here's what I would do. Unfortunately, I don't think that you can drop this anymore. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have that conversation. But now here's what I would do. And now, gang, don't get defensive with me. Some of you are going to get all legalistic with me. Like, you know, you're not supposed to share confidential information, blah, blah, blah. You know, but I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do, what I would do, Judy, is any agents that you can talk to that maybe have shown the listing before, for example, those other 10 showings, and any other agents that are active in the marketplace, even in your office, I would tell people the situation. I would tell the agents, now listen, I've got some homeowners who are really committed to selling because they're going through a divorce situation and they want to move the property. We had it at 730. It's now all the way down to 670. I think we have some real committed sellers here. So if you've got anybody that's looking around in the 600s for this type of property, I think these people are ready to go. So I would kind of put the word out that you've got committed sellers. And here's why I would do this, gang, is because unfortunately, without knowing that background information, the message we've been sending to our fellow realtors, Judy, is with all of these small price reductions, that these are homeowners who are not committed to selling. They're only committed to price. They're committed to being greedy, so they always drop it 10,000 here or 15 here. So we need to let people know that no, that's not the case. These people are not committed to price. They are committed to moving, and here's why. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
I wouldn't advertise it, obviously, because you can't do that. But I would make those one-on-one calls to people who've showed the listing, and any other agent that hasn't shown it, but you know that they're active in the marketplace. Okay?
Okay.
But listen, let's have this be a learning experience. You know, when we've got a listing that we've taken and it's overpriced and it's got this problem about it being a noisy background. And you know what? Here's something I'm going to give you, Judy, as an analogy too, gang. Here's something that might help you whenever you want to discuss price with somebody, especially when they think their house is special. You got these homes. This is a 5,000 square foot home. It was custom built, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, and they may say, yeah, my house is worth this $700,000. Let me ask you a question, Judy. If you were to take this house and you were to put it in Los Angeles, California, what do you think this house would be selling for?
Oh, probably $1 to $2 million.
Yeah. Why?
Right.
So
because of the area.
Yes. This is what you'd want to say to a homeowner. Mr. and Ms. Hunt, you're right. This house is off the hook. It's awesome. It's beautiful. If you were to take this house and you put it into Los Angeles, and they say, and what do you think would sell? And they say, wow, that'd be worth $1 to $2 million. Yeah, why? And they say, because the area. Then you would say this, Judy, exactly. The challenge that we have with your house is not your house. It's the area which backs up against a really noisy area. Somebody who's going to look to spend over $750,000 for a house, they want a backyard that they can sit back and not hear the traffic. And because of that, we need to make a price adjustment. So that would have been the metaphor I would have used there, okay?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. I wish I'd known that earlier.
Well,
so thank you. This is great. This is great.
You're welcome, darling. But this is just how it is. Sometimes, Warren Buffett said it, success is the worst teacher. You only learn from your mistakes. So when you go through, a challenging listing like this, you're now stronger for the next one, okay? And that's why we have these calls. That's why we have these calls. So, here's how I always thought. Whenever we have something not working in our business, if we call that a breakdown, whether it's, lack of listings or money, if we can have a breakthrough and we become stronger because of that experience, then it's a good thing. Then it's not a wasted thing. So, every time I left a listing, Judy, that I didn't get, I would sit in the car and I wouldn't beat myself up. I literally, before I would pull away, I would go through the listing conversation. In my head, I'd say, what should I have said differently? Where did I fail in that conversation? So that way, if I'm pulling away from that house, I'm pulling away with one of two things. Either one, a listing agreement signed, or number two, a learning experience. So, okay?
Okay. Thanks a million. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, darling. Thank you. Now, you'll just hit *6. That'll put you back on mute, okay? So hit it one time, *6.
Okay.
Now, Sheeta, are you on the call? Sheeta. You hit *6 one time. That'll take you off the call, Sheeta. Am I saying that right? Shida? Yee. Shada Rizaza Zuza Badana. Are you there? Keller Williams in Glendale, California. Shida, are you there? All right, she's not. I know she just sent this to me yesterday. Okay. Well, here's what I'm gonna listen, gang. If you can't ever make a call because you've got a showing, like somebody couldn't be on the call today, if you want to email me your question, I'll still answer it, and you can listen to it later, okay? We won't have the one-on-one. Here, gang, here's what she said. Shida said, I'd like to get your feedback on an expired that I managed to get a hold of on the phone. He said that he jumped into the first agent for the first time, and it was a bad mistake. So they felt the agent they hired the first time was a mistake because they rushed it. So they said, give us a couple of weeks and then contact us. Now, here's what Shada did. And she did some good things. And I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but if you're on the call, you could correct me. She said she sent them her listing presentation per their request. So I'd be interested. So I think that was a good idea. I'd be interested to see what she sent, though. People want to see your listing conversation, whether it's a PowerPoint or a PDF. I think that's a great idea, but I think there would be two different types of listing conversations, There's the one that you do face-to-face with a homeowner, and then there's the one that you would email. And I think the email needs to be a summary of things. If any of you want to send it to me, I'll critique it. How's that? But I think that's a good idea. All right. She said, I've sent a thank you card to them after she spoke to them on the phone, which that was a good idea. She left them a voicemail saying, I wanted to make sure you received my listing or marketing packet. To see if you had any questions, please contact me to set up a time to meet. So all did great stuff. Here's her question. What should I do at this point? It's been a week already. The house is vacant. I can't just go to the house. Should I keep calling them, leave a voicemail, or should I just keep calling until I get a hold of him? My concern is I don't want to sound too pushy since he said that they will need some time. Great questions. Boy, I wish she was on the call. So let me give you all a tip on this. So let's say you've got a listing or homeowner that you want to follow up. How do you follow up? Here's a couple of ways to do this. Because if they tell you, give me a couple of weeks, and you really wait a couple of weeks, something might happen during that 14 days where they say, you know what, I think we're ready, or let's let an agent in, and they don't have Sheeta's information, they out of sight, out of mind, whatever. So you don't want 2 weeks to go by, so that's to me a long time. And so here's what I would do. I would find a reason to contact this potential listing. So one of the things I did when I was an agent was we did print advertising every week. And the print advertising we did, it would come out on Friday, and we had to have our ads and everything in by Wednesday. It was a special publication that we did, full page. It was back in the days of print. The print's not what's important. What's important is the time concept. What I would do if this were my lead, I would call them on Monday and say, hey, Mr. Hunter, the reason why I'm calling, first of all, I would start this way. Mr. Hunter, hey, it's Darryl Davis. Listen, I know that you said you were going to give it a couple weeks, and it's been a week now. You know, there is a fine line between showing a prospective client your commitment to them and your diligence and being annoying. So I hope I'm not crossing the line with you, and I hope I'm not being annoying. But I'm very excited about the possibility of working with you. I think I can really help you. And the reason why I called is because if your timeline changed at all as far as when you were thinking about interviewing some agents, I wanted to make sure I got you because weekends are so busy in the real estate industry. That's when buyers come out. We have this publication, this ad that gets run on Friday, and we always get a ton of business from this, but we have to get the ads in Wednesday. So anyway, I wanted to see if you're still on that timeline a couple of weeks, or if maybe there's a chance I can meet you before Wednesday in case I happen to be that person that you want to work with. So that's what I would do there. See if there's new that, or if there's any new listings that have come in the market similar to that house in that area, or any listings that sold. Like I try to find a reason to call the homeowner to help them, give them some more information that would help them in making their decision about selling now, hiring an agent, stuff like that. Okay? So that's it. All right, gang. Let me open up the call. So this is your opportunity to ask me any questions that you need help with. So you'll hit *6 on your keypad. That will take you off mute. So who has a question that you'd like to ask me? Something about money, listings, buyers, anything. I see somebody coming off. Donna? No? Is it Donna? Anybody have any questions? I'll keep. Hello?
No.
Who's this?
Yeah, Brian Young in St. Louis.
Hey, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Actually, kind of a little under the weather today, but it's okay because I get to be on the call and spend some real time here. So that's great.
Awesome. Very good, Brian. Glad you're here, man. Do you have a question you need help with?
Well, yeah, 28 years in the business, I'm finding the business constantly changes, and it's just a fact. So
yeah.
What I'm finding right now is, we've been in this super hot market, seller market, and it's starting to switch back a little bit more to a balanced market.
Yeah.
So I have been finding buyers who, I guess, got the early memo and have started asking for just ridiculous stuff on, and that's the PG way of saying it, by the way, ridiculous stuff on inspections. So we've been running into something we haven't run into for a while, which is, people asking for, they only want the new furnaces, the new hot water heaters, all new plumbing, all the things that, a new house might have, but it isn't a new house they're buying. So sort of, going back to old scripts, which are, hey, be reasonable, be rational. I wondered if you had any suggestions in that realm. And then another thing we're starting to see are properties that are just not appraising. The appraisers are starting to get conservative on this again.
Okay.
I just had one that missed the mark by $25,000.
Okay.
It's a for sale by owner. I'm representing the buyer in this case. The buyer, I told them this house is probably overpriced from the get-go, but they were very interested in it. They loved the location. But it's hard and solid. The seller has been drinking Kool-Aid, and they think that it's $40,000 more than they're asking, but they were just wanting to get it out there and get it sold. And now we the appraisal came back 26 lower than asking.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for any strategies and techniques, scripts that you might have on those two items.
All right. So Brian, great question. Like a lot of stuff we can probably cover in this. So property is not appraising, showing FSBO. All right, and then the first one that you said though was buyers are asking, like when they're looking at property, they're getting more picky as to what they're looking for. Is that what you were saying?
Well, what they're doing is they're starting with the strategy of using the inspections process to come back in and ask for stupid things that basically deep six a deal at that point. And you know, we're just seeing it on the brokers of company. We're starting to see a huge number of fallouts on deals over inspections because, you know, people are just wanting everything done, and that's not the purpose of inspections. I mean, inspections are to figure out what you didn't see, not what you should have seen if your eyes were open when you walked through the house. So.
Okay, so. All right, boy, there's a lot here. Okay, so Brian, let me start with that last one because it's still fresh in my head about the inspections.
Okay.
So first of all, what I believe about the inspections is the inspection is not the issue. It is what happens before the inspection. And let me explain. The more committed somebody is to buying the house, the less the issues are when they come up after inspection. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if somebody really wants this house, they love this house, and the inspection comes in, you know, with doorknobs and a window and you know, could use a boiler in 5 years, da-da-da. If emotionally they love the home, it's like, okay, that's fine, no problem. They may still try and renegotiate something, but they're not going to kill the deal because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they put an offer in and they're like, you know, there's so many other houses and I don't know if I'm 100% sold on this, but hey, we get it at this price and now these conditions come in on the inspection, now that's even more reason for them not to buy it. So we've got to make sure that when a buyer goes into a contract that they really are committed. I'll tell you what we did in New York, just so you understand this. In New York, when we put things in the contract, there is no inspection. What's the word I'm looking for? There is an inspection, but they do it before they commit to the contract. This is specifically Long Island, New York. So in other words, if a buyer likes a house, they put an offer in. If they agree on the terms, so they're going to go to contract. But first they do the inspection, so they're still not in contract. After they do the inspection, if they still want to move forward, then they sign the contract. So when somebody buys a house in Long Island, they go in a contract, it's pretty much already locked up, and contracts usually don't fall apart. Point being, it's not contingent. That's what it was. The contract's not contingent on inspection. The concept, what I'm trying to say to you, Brian, is that when people go in the contract in Long Island, they're really, really committed because they know they don't really have a back door except for the mortgage, that they approve for the mortgage. Are you with me on this?
Yeah. And in our case, ours are very much an option-style contract that, you know, you can walk for any reason, no reason, as long as you've done an inspection, which costs you all of what, $250, $300 maybe?
Yeah.
To do an inspection. So people are starting to look at it again as kind of an option. Get the property locked up and then do your inspections and ask for stuff.
Yeah, well, now let me tell you what I would do to fix this. And I don't want to get into, and please, gang, some of you, I don't want you to get wackadoo when I give you something that may be legal, out-of-the-box thinking, because that's what you should want from me anyway. You should want something that's out-of-the-box thinking. So, Brian, here's one of the things that I would do. Even if I represent the buyers, you know, my duty is to the buyers because I'm doing buyer agency. I would not want the buyers to go into contract. You know, if an attorney represents you and the attorney thinks you're making mistakes that's going to hurt you or it's going to hurt them to do their job, and if it's going to cost them more time and energy, they're going to tell you, no, I'm not going to do this. So even though the attorney represents you, they still have their standards as how they work. Are you with me on this so far, Brian?
Yes, yeah, of course.
So just like an attorney would do that, if you have a buyer that you have fiduciary responsibility to them, great, but you still have your own standards on how you work. And here's the standard I would put together when it comes to putting a buyer into contract. I would look at some of those contingencies and lessen them. Here's what I mean. For example, I would tell the buyers, listen, we're going to go into contract on this, and it's subject to the home inspection. Then we're going to put in there to help your offer, to make you a more attractive buyer to the seller, that it is contingent on a home inspection to be done within 10 days, as long as not any one item costs more than $1,000 to repair. So in other words, what I'm saying, Brian, is if let's say these buyers, they have the inspection and the contractor says, you know, it needs a new dishwasher, you know, it looks like it's on its way out, and I don't know if that's a good example, and it's worth $500. Well, because that one item is only $500, it's less than the $1,000, the buyer could not use that as a reason to renegotiate or to cancel the contract. Are you with me?
Yeah, that's actually kind of an interesting idea. Either cumulative or individual item, you cap it. Makes sense.
Exactly. Not cumulative. One item.
Yeah.
So, for example, if there's a dishwasher, listen, they're buying a used home, like a used car. It's not brand new, right? And even new homes have some issues from time to time. So, of course, there's going to be stuff. And that's the other thing we need to tell a buyer when we take a buyer and we tell them about that's the second thing I wanted to say to you, by the way, Brian, is that we prepare the buyers to know, listen, this inspection, if you paid $300 and the inspector comes back with, no, it's good, there's nothing wrong with it, you might feel that you wasted your $300, and the inspector knows this. So the job of the inspector is to nitpick the heck out of this. As a matter of fact, the more that they can find wrong, even if it's not earth-shattering, they're still going to put in the report, so that way you feel like, boy, this is the best $300 I spent. So you've got to prepare the buyers that this inspection is probably going to be worse, so that way when it comes in less than you presented to them, it'll seem less of an issue. Are you still with me, Brian?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so now going back to that cumulative versus, no, if let's say the inspector says, you know what, this casement window needs to be replaced, and that's about $250, and the dishwasher is $500, we're at $750, and you know there's the light fixture, electrician, another $5. All right, we're already over $1,000. Nope, they still got to continue. It's any one item. So let's say the boiler is shot. Let's say it needs a new roof. Okay, these are big ticket items that we need to now have a conversation about.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, and you might have other things, like where are you located, Brian? What state?
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay. So there might be some other, like not knowing your contract. So I would look at all of those contingencies, all of those things that can give a buyer a reason to cancel the deal, and decide for you what would be reasonable standards that you're willing to work with a buyer and putting them into contract. Now, there's a couple of good reasons for this too. Number one is if you're seeing more deals fall apart because of all these different contingencies, well, I don't have to tell you, we're wasting our time as agents. Because now we've done all this work, we're showing the properties, we put the contract together, and the deal falls apart because of a $200 light fixture, and now you don't get paid for your efforts, and now you got to start over because people are getting crazy. So it's totally acceptable for you as a buyer's agent to have standards as to how you work and how you put deals together. The second reason why this is good, what I'm telling you, is if the norm in your marketplace is to have these have these contingencies and have this inspection with no limits as far as amounts, but you put a contract together that does have the limits, and you present that offer to the homeowner, well, that makes your buyer, your offer look stronger. And maybe because of it, instead of offering $650,000, maybe we can offer $645,000 because you're a better risk, you're a better buyer. It's a better offer because it has better terms. Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. So now, what if you're on the flip side? So I'm the listing agent. I've got a buyer's agent brings something like 10,000 things in that they want to have done. We communicate quite frequently about what the seller's expectations are relative to inspections.
Okay.
So
good.
if as is, or there's not a lot of room here for whatever. So we try to convey that to a buyer. But are there any other suggestions you can make in dealing with a buyer agent when you do the listing side, and they bring in a contract because you think you've got a solid deal, and then they do something stupid in inspection?
Well, the same thing is what I would do. I would do it on the same side. So let's say you're on the listing it's your listing, and a buyer agent has an offer on your listing, and you flip it. Say, hey, let's say I'm the listing agent, and Brian, you bring me an offer. I say, Brian, it sounds good. Before my seller sign this contract, we need to put a limit as far as the inspection issues.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to take the house off the market, and it's possible. Listen, Brian, let me say this for everybody. When something goes into contract, some of the markets on this call, they still show the listings, because until it closes, you can still get backup offers or whatever. So for any of you that's your market, I just want to say this. You all know this already. As an agent, when we see a listing in contract, we avoid showing it, because if that contract closes, but our buyers emotionally want it and they're waiting to see the deal fall apart. So what we do is we stay away from listings that are in contract. So in my opinion, a house is emotionally off the market once it goes into contract. So going back to my role play with you, Brian, if you were the buyer's agent bringing me an offer, I'd say, Brian, before I will have my sellers go into contract and essentially come off the market, we need to I have no problem they have an inspection. The seller has no problem, but it's a used house. Stuff's going to come up. So what we need to do is put a cap on what needs to be repaired for any one item. Okay? So, there may be this, $5 here, $10 there, but we're looking for major defects from an inspection. Foundation cracks, boiler, roof. And I just picked that number of $1,000, Brian. You can say $5,000 or $2,500, whatever so you can do the same thing on the other side, yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, as far as houses not appraising, if you're finding that this is happening more often, my advice would be this. When you get a new listing, now, I will tell you, Brian, I'm not happy that you showed the FSBO, so I'm just gonna say this, and when we show FSBO, and a lot of agents do this, but this has always been my feeling on the matter, is that as the real estate industry, when we show a FSBO's listing, we are hurting our own industry, because we're sending a message to FSBOs that you don't have to sign with an agent and we'll still show your listings. Now, even a lot of brokers would disagree with me this. If you can put a deal together, put a deal together. But that's how I feel in the matter. That's my personal opinion. All right, now, if let's say, Brian, this was your listing. You're finding that things are not appraising. When you're on the listing side, you may want to tell a homeowner, what's happening with appraisals, and it might be in their best interest to pay for an approved bank appraisal before you actually put it on the market, or you put it on the market at a price, have the appraisal done immediately, and if the price comes in different than what you listed, then you can do a price adjustment. So that's what I would do on the listing side. When you're on the buyer side, well, you've got to prepare your buyers. If you know your buyers are going into contract on something that's overpriced and may not appraise, if they don't have money, I would have a conversation. If they can't get the money somehow to fill the gap of that, like $25,000 as an example, then I wouldn't go into contract, because it's not going to appraise. So, because listen, when we do stuff like this, we're just wasting our own time, and it costs us money. Yeah?
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. Showing for sale by owners does, in a way, undermine, but when you're repping a buyer, you have to represent their best interest. That's the challenge.
I know that is the challenge, and I am sorry that I didn't acknowledge that distinction, because but I thought it in my head. I totally get that in some respects you represent the buyer, so maybe it's kind of okay. But you see, this is what happens, right? This is what happens when Yeah, what you're faced now is you've got a seller who thinks the house is worth $40,000 more than what your buyers bought it for, but the appraiser says it's $25,000. That's what happens when you deal with a FSBO who's uneducated and there isn't a fellow realtor representing them on the other side. So,
very much agreed. Very much agreed.
All right, Brian. Listen, thank you so much for calling in. Thanks. Did I help you at all?
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right, so just hit *6. That'll put you back on mute. All right, buddy. Thank you. Anybody else have a question? We're going to do one more question for now, and then I want to go to the magazine. So does anybody else have a question? Hit *6 on your keypad one time, and that'll take you off mute. And then you can talk to me. Is there anybody else? Maybe there isn't. All right. We're gone. Okay, gang, let me talk. I will maybe open up the questions maybe at the end of the call again, but I want to go through a couple of things. Now, for those of you that cannot see my computer screen, and for those of you who are not on the computer, I'm going to try and visually have you picture what I'm showing people, and that's fine. You know, every month, what you guys do, when you log into the Power Program, let's see if I go to that. When you log into the Power Program website, there is this, at the top, it says monthly sessions. And each month, we have, if I'm showing it on the screen right now, is our monthly interview, which is a recording. So you click on it, you listen to it. We have our digital magazine. This month's magazine is like 34 pages. And then we post this monthly recording that I'm doing to you. All right, now, this month's interview is actually a really short interview. This is a friend of mine. Her name is Tanya Brown. She is the sister of Nicole Brown Simpson. And she's a really powerful woman. She's a speaker. She speaks on women issues. So she has this thing that I interviewed her real quick. We were at a seminar together, and I grabbed her, and she has this thing called the Tanya Formula, which I really love. And so, and because I knew O.J. Simpson was getting released this month, I thought it would be appropriate to share some of what she shared, Tanya, in this interview. Anyway, read it, listen to it. It's short, it's sweet, but it's powerful. So, and she's got some really powerful stuff. Check out her website, too. All right, now, let me go through some of what's in the magazine. And let's see. The first, on page 9 in the magazine this month, there is a letter that you can send, or a flyer. It's really designed in a flyer format, about expired listings. So I'll just read the first part. I noticed your listing expired. Are you still interested in selling home? It's a great seller's market. My marketing plan includes proper exposure, checking your motivation. Anyway, so I've given you this letter or flyer, and at the bottom you can drop in your contact information and your photos. So that's on page 9. Every month, gang, I'm giving you these newsletters. And so like this month it says February's newsletter. Don't worry about the dates. Look at the content. This newsletter says the 8 reasons to hire me to sell your home. And then there's a little recipe in there. Okay, these don't have to be just newsletters. These could actually be flyers. They can be, to quote Brian Buffini, drop-bys. They could be gifts that you give to a homeowner. So every month in the magazine you're getting a few newsletters. Let's see, here's the next one. 6 tips when shopping for a neighborhood. This is good for buyers, obviously. This flyer, the market's hot, but interest rates may be going up. Sell now. Interest rates low, payments are low for buyers. You know, the cost of owning a home, buying a home has actually, it's gotten harder for buyers over the past year because the property value is going up. So we want to try and communicate that to motivate sellers. 5 things to ask at an open house. So this is another little gift that you can give to a homeowner. All right, so let me go to page 14. 14 is just a letter about horizontal real estate. When you change companies, or you're in a new company, or you're a new agent. All right, and let's see what's the next one. New agent in town. There's another version of that. real estate. Okay, here's another newsletter about solar. I don't know about you guys. I've been getting a lot of calls like every day, twice a day, and I'm on the do not call list, but I keep getting these solar companies who are calling me. So it seems like it'd be a big thing. Anyway, there's a newsletter for thinking about going solar. Here's a couple of things to think about. Just a lot of stuff that I've given you guys to use to market and promote yourself. All right, now let's go to page 18. Let's see what that one is. Thank you for calling. You're one of the few that we're saying. Sorry, gang, I'm just going through this. I don't want to get into that right now. There's so much over here. I do want to jump to this. Hang on. Okay, this. Hang on. Page 22. Again, if you can't see your computer screen or see mine, gang, just make notes of these page numbers. Page 22. When an ad on your home is just the tip of the iceberg, here's the kind of total exposure your home gets with us. It's a really great visual. I love this. National Home Finders, great company that changed hands, but whatever. This is one of my students, the flyer they use. It shows an iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg above the water says, here's the ad on your home, but below the ocean surface is a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do. For sale signs, direct mail, past clients, open house campaigns, our offices. So I really love that visual. I was happy to give you that. And let's see what's the next thing I want to show you. You know, page 23 shows that there's so much in the process of selling a house. A lot of homeowners don't realize, they think just putting an ad out there and finding a buyer is how you sell a house. This is a great visual to use on a listing appointment. Once again, you can create it as a flyer to show a homeowner there's a lot more to sell on a property than just finding the buyer. Because once you find the buyer, you know, first of all, you got all this marketing to do, and then after that, you got to negotiate the offer, get it accepted, escrow, home inspection, loan application, blah, blah, blah. So you all know it's just a visual to explain it. Now, this next page, page 24, has the free over-the-phone market analysis. I'm not going to talk about this because I've talked about it in previous months. I think it was last month, actually. But we created a new free market analysis flyer. This is an older one that is on page 24. If you go to the Facebook group for the Power Agents, we created a new version of this, and we posted it in the group for you, okay? Then there's a guarantee. I wanted to tell this to Shida, or it's another thing to use to show a homeowner, especially for expireds, how you guarantee you're going to do what you said you're going to do. The problem with expireds is they feel, you know, like they were sold a bit of goods sometimes. And so the signature guarantee, as they called it, you know, by the way, that's another marketing thing I wanted to share with you that just popped in my head. You know, this is a guarantee. It's saying, I guarantee I'm going to do these things. I'm going to sign it and give it to you. But here's what's interesting. What they did is they called it the signature guarantee. And I love this from a marketing standpoint. There's a book that I read that talks about this, that you can take things that other agents do, but when you put your name on it, or you put a name on it, it gives more credibility. It sounds different and new, right? So let's say, you know, you're with Power Realty. You can call it the Power Realty Guarantee, or I might say the Darryl Davis Guarantee. So, you know, just giving a name to something adds more credibility. This is a great visual, page 26. When a homeowner says, you know, I did all this work, my house is better than the average house because I put in a whole new well system, or I put in a boiler, or I put in a roof. Like, for example, my house, we just put a new roof in, and I spent extra money to put the 50-year roof guarantee versus the 25, because quite frankly, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but you know, it was worth it to me, and I didn't want to have to deal with it. Here's my point: if I wanted to sell my house and I try to justify it to a buyer, yeah, but this is a 50 guarantee, not a 25 guarantee, and I spent this much more money, that's why my house is worth. But no. This visual shows value is determined by what a purchaser gets out of a product, not what an owner puts in it. And great visual on page 26 for those homeowners that say, my house is special, we did all of this work. And there's just some other great postcards and flyers and mailing stuff. That's it.
Hi.
Oh, hang on. Yes, somebody said hi. Stay right there. I'm going to come to you. I just almost forgot. Page 31. Gang, make a note. If you cannot see what I see right now on my screen, please make a note of this. Kim Reynolds, one of our great power agents. She put this flyer. I love this flyer. Like, this is my favorite page in this month's magazine. Brokers Open House, catered by Rick's Barbecue. We're going to have barbecue, beans, slaw, fries, bread, and Rick's famous sauce. And that has the address of the property, 3-bedroom, 8.5 acres. She's got some photos of the property. Then she describes a little bit. The home is 3 countryside, 8.5 breathtaking acres, including a private lake. I love it. She has the title company. She's got a mortgage company. Don't miss this free barbecue lunch catered by Iberia Mortgage. Plus, you get to win a gift card by Tennessee Title. This flyer is the most beautiful Brokers Open House flyer I've ever seen. There are so many right things about this flyer. The way the date and the time is in the upper right-hand corner, the images, the photos of the property, the header image, the gifts, the things, the contests, the fellow sponsors, the mortgage company, the title company, information on that, because they're going to help promote it. Let me tell you something, gang. I've always been big on Brokers Open Houses, even when agents have told me, Darryl, our market, we don't get good turnouts. Because to me, a Brokers Open House is like a grand opening of a store. If you're opening up a store, you want to call the newspapers, the politicians, camera, place an ad, ribbon cutting. That's what a Brokers Open House is. It is a grand opening for a house. And let me tell you one last thing. The more brokers that come to your Brokers Open Houses, the more opinion sheets you get, which means there's a better chance of getting price reductions when other agents fill out their opinion about the property and the price. So I love Brokers Open Houses. I think it's essential, and I love this flyer because she's feeding, she's promoting the food. So she's got food, and it's not just finger sandwiches. It's Rick's famous barbecue sauce, for crying out loud. And she's got pictures, and then so she's doing a raffle, she's doing the food. And then she's got her sponsors' contact information to help promoting it. All right. So, who has a question? I heard a voice. Who? I heard a voice a moment ago. What happened? Who's there? Somebody? No? No other questions? All right. Does anybody have any questions that you need help with? Any comments, questions, something you want to talk about?
Darryl, I have a question. This is Janet Livingston in Atlanta.
Hi, Janet.
Hey, I wondered your opinion on Zillow and Trulia, because I opted my company out of those websites last month because of the poor quality of buyers and kind of obnoxious, actually, after a while. What are your feelings, or what's the group's feelings on that?
Well, Janet, that's, I almost feel like that's a question that, like, are you a Democrat or Republican? In other words, Zillow and Trulia is kind of a divisive thing in our industry, because you have some agents that love it and swear by it, and some that hate it and what they're doing, and so it's such a challenging thing. So I try to be like Switzerland on that, and my thought is this. If it's not working for you, then don't do it, and if it is, keep doing it. So I really do. I really do. I believe that's a personal thing. But let me ask you this: how much were you paying to be plugged in?
No, I never paid anything. I just opted out of the website totally.
Oh, I see.
I opted getting my listings out of it. I don't want them on it.
Got it. Okay.
Because I get enough business from Realtor.com and Homes.com. I don't really need it.
Well, there you go.
But my understanding, though, is that Zillow, of course, they own 100 other little subsidiaries. They are going to be actually becoming a brokerage firm before too long, and making it, harder and harder for us to get business.
Here's what I'll say, Janet. When reciprocity, I'm not saying it right. When the technology came out where our listings could be shared by other brokers online and to advertise, like there's been there's been these next level achievements in technology over the past 15 years. When anything new has come out in our industry, there's usually concern and questions about it. And, you know, this is one of those things. All right, so is it possible that Zillow is going to become a brokerage or, you know, I don't know. But if it does, you know, the stronger agents will always, you know, work through it and just adapt according to whatever new thing is in the industry. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't worry about it until it happens. When it does happen, you're a smart enough lady, you'll figure it out. I will say, with the little piece that you just said about opting out, that the buyers you were getting from Zillow and Trulia were not good buyers. You know,
not at all. No,
all right.
Time wasters.
Exactly. So for you, that sounds like the right decision, because if you're getting enough business from Realtor.com and Homes.com, and all Zillow and Trulia was doing was giving you these low-level buyers that was really wasting your time, I agree with your decision. Trim the fat, get rid of these non-serious buyers so you can focus on the good leads that you are getting. So I think it sounds like you made a perfect decision on that, okay?
Okay, thanks, Darryl.
You're so welcome, Jen. Thanks for calling in, I appreciate it. Anybody else have a question? We've got 4 minutes left here. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay. We sure? I hear a voice. Does somebody have a question? All right. So, gang, here's what we're going to do. So we'll a couple of things just to finish out this call. We are getting into the months now where we're seeing the holidays. You know, we're going to have Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, bop, 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 bop. Now, what's going to start to happen, and now we're in October, we got Halloween. I want you to start thinking about buyers a little bit more. And on the next call, what I'm going to do is we're going to address how to work with buyers quicker and more effectively. Because what I used to tell my agents that in our training and when I managed is that in the last 60 days of the year, any buyer that's going to come out during the holidays and in the north or wherever the cold is and the snow, these are obviously people who are seriously committed to buying. So we're going to go over the buyer's topic. Those of you that have my CDs, I want you to, you know, start listening to the buyer CDs if you haven't listened to them. And that's it. So listen, you guys, thank you so much. I want to acknowledge you all, by the way. I wasn't sure how our turnout was going to be on this call because of the holiday, and I'm really shocked, pleasantly shocked, on how many people called in today. So over 25% of our power agents called in, so that's awesome. Don't forget, we don't just help people buy and sell real estate. We actually help people get to their next level. So the more people you have get to the next level in their life, the more money you're going to make. The money is the gauge as to how many lives we've changed and touched. So go out there, change a lot of lives, help a lot of people get to their next level, and the money will follow. God bless you, gang. Thanks for calling in, and I look forward to talking to you next month. All righty? Bye. I'm going to unmute everybody.
Bye.
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 God bless you, gang. Thanks for calling in, and I look forward to talking to you next month.